Hi everyone. Very happy to be here today to discuss about a topic that I think will be very important in the coming years and is increasingly important. It is very close to my heart. And what we're doing at Harlequin is that we're doing informational scans about conflicting informational workspace. And I want to discuss how the birth of AI and the increasing power of AI is modifying the way the informational landscape is evolving and the way it modifies opinions and behaviors across the board. And it requires the development of new kind of tools that can address those challenges in our open societies. So the logic is that generative AI is modifying a whole set of things in our world, and most people discuss about the economic consequences of AI, the fact that it will modify the way we work, the way we produce, the way we consume, and all the debates around changing employment or unemployment are also at the core of the debate. We claim that it will have an impact that is much deeper than that. It will change the politics as well of our society and the way we are organized. So it's not just changing the world, it's rewiring the way reality happens and is perceived by humans and individuals. So the line between human-generated content and machine-generated content is getting even blurrier nowadays. It's hard to recognize which content is written by someone and which content is written by a machine. And truth, in a way, is a design choice. What we select as being the ground truth, what we select as being validated as real data as opposed to synthetic data, is a matter of choice, and it's not something that is obvious anymore. So there is this blurry notion that is propagating at every scale and very quickly, because OpenAI is just 3 years old, basically. ChatGPT through OpenAI is basically 3 years old, and we're not prepared for this. It's impacting the world in a way that we have not prepared, that we have not defined, that we don't know how to monitor and to cope with. So it's something that is really modifying the social fabric, and in many cases is steering the social fabric in a way that creates new conflicts, creates new tension across the world. And we are holding the scissors on how we redefine the social fabric in a way. And something that we know for sure, that we've observed over the last few years, is that generative AI induce new behaviors. Maybe you've tried vibe coding. Well, you see that's a new kind of behavior. You were not able to do that beforehand. You see that sometimes you go to Gen AI to ask a question about what should I cook this evening, and we know that people are using AI a lot for advices about day-to-day operation. But it also produce new value systems. You have new ideas about the ethics, what is important, what you perceive as being valuable or not, depending on the kind of discussion you might have with AI systems and AI agents. And very likely it will shape new norms about what is expected, what is perceived as being a social norm, something that is shared by many people in a given society. And it brings about new regulation, new concept as the norms are evolving. So for example, to what extent could you use AI to guess what gift you should make for someone in your family for Christmas? It's an example of a norm that used to be something at the individual level, and now you can guess a system, ask a system to help you do that. So it removes part of your personal decision in a way because you delegate this capability to agentic systems. We've discussed that as well in the context of political choice. For example, you can ask who I should vote for based on our previous conversation. So you delegate part of your agency to a technical system in a way, right? Nobody wrote the rules for that well because it happened like by accident. People at OpenAI were just trying to scale a given system and fit text into it, and all of a sudden it started to work, right? In a way, or produce something that we perceive as working, right? So it's not something that was planned. It's not something that was organized. It's something that just happened, and we're trying to manage our way through that. And I claim that it shapes our own individual patterns of behavior, but it changed society in a way that's much more robust, much more profound, and much more prolonged over time. In that context, AI safety is super important because the safety of AI will tell you, as we just discussed, well, can you order a nuclear bomb? Or can you receive wrong advices on the kind of medication you're taking? How would you shape your preferences or translate your preferences in political choice or political behavior or consumer choice are very important topics. And the current toolkit is to believe that AI safety is a technical matter, that if you are able to put in place the good technical systems, then you reach AI safety. And we do that through red teaming, so the fact that we look for cracks and we look for dangerous behavior and we remove them from the content that could be generated by AI systems. So we explicitly identify, manually, and extract the content that we don't want to see as being generated by AI systems. A lot of people nowadays are using reinforcement learning in post-training so that we shape the behavior of the AI system to fit a given kind of task and operate in a way that we think we want the machine to behave, but we don't really know for sure. Like we have hints, but we don't have like self-evident or self-aware concept of reinforcement learning. So we are experimenting with that, but there's no good theory of it. And the large question is the question of alignment. Like, can we align AI systems to behave in a way that makes us confident that they can operate on their own without human supervision or with limited human supervision? And we are at that point. And as you know, alignment has been a very important topic in the field of the large LLM and large AI companies that are building the system. How to align the systems such as this one. Well, the alignment paradox is something that is currently evolving. At one moment in time, alignment was really easy because the model was in fact really dumb, really stupid. So you could easily like remove the content that you perceived as being obviously dangerous, right? So when you have a system that is less capable in terms of its cognitive capabilities to operate than humans, you can still control it with a human supervisor, right? To a certain point. But at a point, you see that this training is frozen in time, but the world moves, okay? And you have new ideas and new concepts that appear every time. And what we see in the current paradigm is that at some point, AI capabilities will overcome human capabilities of controlling the alignment. And I want to discuss that a little bit more in depth to show you some example of that scenario. We have a few warning signs of that phenomenon appearing. The first one is that synthetic content, AI-generated text, AI-generated sound, AI-generated images and videos are increasingly indistinguishable from human-produced content. So at the moment, you can still like try to guess. You're more or less confident that you can disentangle what is synthetic and what is not. But increasingly, it gets more and more difficult, and we perceive that in maybe the next 2 years, 3 years, it will not be the case anymore, right? The second thing is that watermarking is fading. That we believe that we could like build into the content watermarks that would identify generated content. But you cannot control all the models in the world. And watermarking is only as good as the technique that you can use like to modify the content in a way that makes it go away. So it's like a weak kind of protection against harmful content and this misinforming content. And the third behavior is a behavior that has been documented by Anthropic over the last summer. The fact that we have what we call emergent misalignment. Maybe you've seen that in the past, that when you have people interacting with chatbot, it modifies the behavior of the model in some kind of ways. And we've seen advanced models being able to start to misbehave and misbehave against the norms that they were trained to apply. But because of the interaction we had with a large number of users, they were drifting away from the built-in alignment within the system. One of the funny examples of that is the vision language model that was able to tick the box, I am not a robot, to open a web page. Okay? So those behaviors were not hard-coded to the model, but they emerged from the interaction with not only one person, but with a large number of users with different preferences and behaviors. So that's a huge problem ahead of us. And superintelligence, I claim, is not in the future. It's already here. Right? Let me explain why. The first thing is that narrow superintelligence already exists. You can try to beat your smartphone at playing chess, you won't win, right? It's already smaller than us. It's very, very narrow in terms of applications. I claim that we have nowadays broad superintelligence because we have the capabilities of those narrow systems plus our human brain. So if you don't look at the model only, but the interaction between the human and those advanced models, we are already smarter than human only. Right? We are already smarter than we were 5 or 6 years ago because we have those tools that we can use to propagate our skills to those automated systems. So we already have composite superintelligence here, not as a product, but as a byproduct of interacting with AI generative systems. right? And my claim is that very likely it's a matter of years to have completely synthetic systems that are smarter than humans alone, right? That are broader in skill and broader in knowledge. So it's not a matter of will it happen or not. It's a matter of how we handle that, okay? And we need to prepare the tools to handle the situation before it happens if we don't want things to go out of control. So super alignment with many problem is not solved today. We have open questions. Maybe you've heard about the paper of 2023 by the team around Ilya Sutskever at OpenAI that was dismantled when we had this split at OpenAI. This team was working on what was called weak to strong general supervision. The idea that a weak teacher can train a stronger model to behave according to some predefined social norm, but we don't know if it works. It's an open question. The second technique is developed by the team of Jan Maker at Anthropic. It's called inductive elicitation. Can we get a model to define itself by itself, safe behavior, and follow those guidelines without human supervision? Maybe we have some theoretical work on that, but we have no proof that it works, right? And there is the idea that at some point we can get models that are so strong, so powerful that they can operate on their own without human supervision and be safe. So it's the concept of AIXC, but no one knows how to build it. One of the big questions is alignment is not a technical problem only. It's also a value problem. Align? Yes. Align to what? Align to who? Align to what kind of preferences and value systems? Across human societies, we have different value systems, different cultures. Okay? We have some shared ground truths, but also a lot of conflicting views. So can we even agree on what a good alignment is and how to agree on that? So that's a political discussion. Ethics are not enough because values are social things. They are contested, they are evolving. So you cannot build one day a system that will be fixed and will be perceived as being aligned. Cultures are clashing, interest diverges, and it changes all the time. So the thing is that alignment is a moving target. You cannot say, I have a system, it's aligned, we are done. Because 5 years from now, 10 years from now, the value system will be different, and the alignment should be able to follow that process, right? So more and more we discuss, and maybe you've seen the latest interview by Ilya Sutskever, demands continuous training. The idea that you cannot train the model, finish it, and then publish it, and infer on that model as a separate step from training. Increasingly, we infer and train the same model in a continuous process all the time. And so you need to do continuous alignment. You need to do the alignment across time and not once and for all in a lab. What's the consequence of that? Is that how can we act in a way that prevents dangerous ASI to appear? So we claim that the lab safety is not enough. You cannot compute or operate in a lab and say, we have a safe system that we can deploy in the world and forget about it. We have to monitor the system real time, all the time, every time someone uses it. Which means what? Pre-training is not good enough at predicting emergent disalignment, we've seen that. Reinforcement learning is not enough to make sure that we control how the model behaves because it can be misaligned later down the road. And most of the social interaction cannot be tested in a lab environment with pre-existing data set that curates for dangerous behaviors. So we believe that the only path forward is the ability to build a good simulation of how the model would behave in the social world. So what we're doing at Harlequin is building a way to monitor how AI systems are operating, tracking fingerprints, looking at phenomena of different scales, and looking how AI shapes the world, shapes your opinion, shapes your view, in a way that gives you agency back in order to organize your life at the time of AI. And we believe that the future requires a new kind of infrastructure when you can simulate, certify, and monitor advanced systems so that they are deployed after being checked and after being perceived through their consequences. So social acceptance is not something that is optional. It's required for AI to work and for AI to be built within a democratic system. So what we're building is basically the bedrock for super intelligent models that are not there yet, but surely are coming. And we generate social world simulators in which we can stress test ISI candidates, and we can restore transparency about how those models behave and how they shape not only their task, but the global fabric of society at scale. So we believe this kind of infrastructure is not optional. It's not something that was predefined, but it's an immediate need from the kind of challenges that we are facing. And this is the mission that we've defined for ourselves as a company. I think I'm done. So thank you very much. I guess we're out of time, but maybe we have some room for some questions.
Yes, I think we can have one question. And you could have more just next.
Yes, of course, we can discuss after.
Thank you very much. I'd like to know if there is a movement around AI companies to have some kind of global certification to ensure alignment with values will work. A little bit like nowadays, we know that transportation with planes is the safest one because there is a lot of certifications.
To my knowledge, there is no common certification, and very likely you know that AI systems are used also within military operations. So there is very likely no common ground that would regulate both military and civil AI systems. So even if you can reach an agreement at the civil level, doesn't ensure your safety because you know that some operators will not behave within the framework.
Thank you, Antoine.
Thank you.